So this is the right side pannier. Of course I have both sides panniers, and I'll get to the left side here in a minute, but the right side one is basically my kitchenette and a few other things, and I'll go through that. But the main thing on here that I wanted to show you before I go into the bag is that there's this huge lock that people probably notice in all my pictures and stuff. This is a kryptonite lock. It's almost indestructible. You can't really take it off. I actually have spare keys hidden in the bike and in my luggage, just in case I lose the primary one. I don't get locked out of my bike and never have my bike removed from wherever I locked it the night before. So it comes with a 7-foot cable, so I can basically wrap it around a tree if I need to, or a telephone pole. I've used it a few times while camping in Australia, but I have yet to take it out in Asia, just because most of the time I have a place to put the bike where it's safe and all that other stuff. So yeah, definitely worth having. Even if I don't use it as often, it's worth the money just having it set aside for the worst case scenario. So another thing is, if you notice my lights, which is a really nice light, it fits in this little specially made sleeve, and that actually points towards the back of the bike, and it was really nice to have that. I could take it off and plug it in to charge it. A really nice addition to the bike, and the front is the same one, and it has its own little mounting bracket in the front, which is really nice. So now for getting into this bag, you just take these out. These are waterproof bags, even though it doesn't look like a waterproof material. I have proven this by getting caught in a flood in Malaysia, and I got the water up to about here where I was splashing in the bike when I was pedaling. I was splashing in the water that was rising. These were completely submerged up to about here, and nothing in this bag or the other bag got wet at all. So they're these, basically the waterproof sacks. I have my full kitchen setup, which I'll get to in a second. That's there, and then I have a food bag, which currently doesn't have much of anything in it, just emergency food for right now, just because I can go around in Asia and get any sort of food I want. This place is definitely not an area where I'm going to starve. So, but this is just emergency food if I need it at the moment. I'll definitely be filling this if I do get to Europe. This will be filled up a few times. I also have a coat, which is at the bottom of the bag, because I haven't needed a coat in the last 6 months. It hasn't been that cold anywhere I've gone. So another thing I have in here is I have a fruit bag, especially it's a Sea to Summit bag, but this is basically just for my bananas, my mangoes, or anything else I need that I don't want stuffed into this bag. I put in this bag, and I have these little hooks that I can just hook it onto somewhere on the bike, and they don't get smushed, which is really nice. And I bought this actually in Australia. It was an afterthought. So another thing I have is I have a hatchet, which a lot of people, when I take this out, a lot of people are kind of weary of why I have a hatchet. Well, I used to cut wood in Australia when I was making fires, and so I bought this in Tasmania just for that, because I didn't have anything to cut wood with. It's very useful. I do actually take it out, like if I'm in a sketchy motel or something like that, I do take this out, put it next to the bed, and it just makes me feel a little bit better having something like that. So another thing I have, I do have these. This is something that I don't use that often, but it actually holds the shape of the bag really easy. But these are actually cutting boards. And like I said, I don't use them as cutting boards that often. It looks like I've never used this one. I've used this one a couple times. But it actually holds the shape of the bag really nicely. Of course, it's plastic on the back, but the front's not plastic. So, and it fits perfectly in there if I need to, put something in there and make it so it fits properly. These definitely do the trick. I also have, this is a head net. This is a net to go over your head if you're surrounded by mosquitoes. I've used this a bunch of times in Australia because at that point it was mosquito season. And this definitely helped. It did not help the rest of my body, but I didn't have any bites on my head. So this is definitely a must-have. It was actually super cheap, and it is Cedar Summit. I think REI and all the other brands, they have cheaper ones, but this one's really nice because it also, it's breathable, and it definitely has helped me a few times on this trip. But I got little things in this. I have odor eater, of course, for the shoes. I haven't worn my shoes in a while, other than the shoes that I wear for riding. I usually wear flip-flops, but this is a must-have. If I'm in a colder area, I've been using my shoes a lot, and I'm in a hostel or even in my own tent. This is definitely a really nice thing to have. So, I have a cigar case that was a gift along this journey because I do smoke cigars. Of course, there's no cigars in it, but there is a cutter and a lighter in there for whenever I find some cigars. I have some way of storing it. I have a thing called a shit shovel. I've never used it for pooping, but I've used it once or twice to cut down hard ground so I can put my pegs in for my tent. It's useful to have. I haven't used it as much as I wanted to, but it's also super light and it's out of the way, so there's no reason to throw it out or anything. So I also have a life straw, which I have luckily never used. I always find a source of filtered water here in Asia, but I bought this in the thoughts of worst case scenario, I have it. And I did buy it in the thoughts of, I hope I never have to use this. I also have spare bags, a spare lighter, even though I have a lighter in my cigar case. It's always good to have some sort of source of fire, some bags just in case I do cook something or I need something that needs to be waterproof. These really help a lot. I also have one of these. It's something that I found while working right before my trip, but it's a thermostat, and it shows humidity and shows the temperature. And I put that in this bag when I have food. I can open up and see how hot it is in this bag, and I can judge if I should eat some of that food or not, if I should just throw it away. It's really good when I was in Australia and I had cheese. So if this was a really hot temperature, I just threw the cheese away because I knew eventually that cheese was going to be bad. So I also got bags that I have stored away for a while actually, but these are actually trash bags, and it's always nice to have in the bottom of the bag, especially the kitchen bag. So if you do make a mess, you can just take the mess with you. Those are big enough bags I can actually strap them to the back, find somewhere to dump it, and I can dump it anywhere. So that's it for this bag. So I wanted to get to this bag. This was the bag that was inside my kitchen bag, in the kitchen pannier, I guess it would be. And so this is actually my kitchen stuff. So one thing is that I have soap and sponge when I need to wash my dishes after I'm done cooking and all that other stuff. Definitely comes in handy. I also have this rag to, of course, do multiple things with, but it also covers up my spork, my titanium spork, and my kitchen knife, which is super sharp. I put that in this so it doesn't put any holes in this bag itself. So very useful. So now I have this is a coffee maker. This comes out, you put the coffee in this, you throw this on there, then this sits on the top of a coffee cup, and you just pour hot water in this, and you basically have a nice cup of coffee. It only makes one coffee at a time, and sometimes it doesn't make a good coffee. It depends on the coffee beans, of course. Definitely a must-have when you're riding. I love having a cup of coffee in the morning, and I do miss having good coffee beans. So another thing I have is a coffee grinder. This currently is out of order. There's one little part that has been broken on this, and I think it's just because it's not meant to be used every day like I was using it while I was in Australia. So it definitely is, there's something definitely wrong with this thing, but I did get a hold of GSI, which makes this, and they are going to send me the part whenever I get into an area that actually has a mail service, most likely in Europe, and this will be ready to go once again. So it's a really nice thing to have, especially having a nice fresh cup of coffee. So another thing I have, of course, is a coffee cup, and it's basically just a coffee cup. It's fairly lightweight, but it also is insulated, so I don't burn my hand or anything when I'm trying to make a cup of coffee. So another thing I have in here is a burner that fits in on this gas canister that's in this pot. It comes with, or I have a 1,000 milliliter and a 500 milliliter pot, and then I have a jet boil pan when I want to make like stir fry or pancakes or whatever I have with me. This also sits perfectly on this burner, which I'm not going to put together because it's just a waste of time. So but yeah, so that's all that's in my kitchen, or my little kitchen bag. I've not found any sort of, I haven't had any problems with any of the stuff. I've made do with what I have, and I've never needed anything more than this. And it definitely, everything's super light. Everything, like these are titanium, of course this is like a lightweight aluminum. Everything's very tight and very, very made to be a lightweight, reliable material. So, but yeah, that is my kitchen setup. So next up is my left hand bag, or my left hand pannier. And this is more of a, mostly just odds and ends go in this bag. The one thing in front of this one is I have an extra water bottle that actually keeps, the hydro flask, and it keeps some water a little bit colder than everything else. Everything else is plastic. So this keeps it kind of a little bit cooler. There's not much that I can put in this water-wise. It doesn't fill up anything fully. But it is also, it's really nice to have just any amount of water is good water. So this definitely is a bonus. I also have like a little hook that you can hang on trees and stuff. So if you need to hang a towel or something like that, instead of taking out a big line, you just take out this. I also have some zip ties on here that drastically just disappear every once in a while, but they sit in there for pretty well. Then I have this, and I've been asked a couple times by some people asking me why I have two locks. So this lock is not as sturdy as the other lock that I was showing you, but this one is kind of keeps people honest, and it doesn't give me an excuse not to lock my bike in sketchy areas. So that's basically what this is for. I don't lock the bike that often here in Asia because, or especially in Thailand, like if I was sitting in at a 7-Eleven or something like that, I can see the bike at all times. And the bike's so heavy, it would take them time to kind of grab it and go. And even if I locked it, it doesn't deter them from like going and trying to find something in a bag, which is almost impossible when everything's kind of tied down. So anyways, yeah, so I've used this a few times in Australia, but not that often in Asia. It seems that people are, I haven't had to worry about it that often, and the bike usually stays inside when I'm staying somewhere. So inside this bag is, like I said, a little bit odd and ends and stuff like that. I have my Afghan scarf that I bring with me everywhere. I've been asked several times why I have this. I've used this, I always call it my security blanket, but I've used this on every trip that I've had. and I got it right before my first trip. So it's something that it's very useful. I've used it for several things, including covering up my face with the smoke in Australia. Definitely helps when you wet it down and put it over your face. And I have a waterproof jacket. It's just kind of stuffed in here. I've had to recently use that, that's why it's not all tidy. I also have, this is a bag for, actually I'm going to move this over because I want to show you that there is a sleeping bag that's sitting right here. I haven't used that sleeping bag in 6 months, and I've had it in a compression bag, this is a really nice compression bag. But I kind of just totally forgot about it. I've never had to use it for the last 6 months because it's been no more than, or no less than 65 degrees everywhere I've been. So I haven't really used that. I've used another one that's in this bag, and I just completely forgot about it. So now I have that sitting out, just kind of refreshing itself. So I left the bag in here just to remind myself to put it back in. So that does sit in here as well. This is actually the sleeping bag that I do use. It's actually a sleeping bag liner. It's another Sea to Summit product. It's very good. I usually, if I'm in the tent in Asia, I just wear shorts and that's it. I just lay on the mattress. But this is good to just kind of feel secure. It doesn't get super hot, still kind of lightweight, and it's breathable, but you have something over you. So another thing is I have a full medical kit. This is mainly just like emergency stuff, like liquid skin, bandages, emergency toilet paper, some pills and stuff like that that I would eventually need. Some pills like anti-diarrhea medicine, just like all the odd things that you don't really want to use, but if it comes down to it, it's all in here. So I also have, these are waterproof pants. They don't keep you dry. They keep you dry for a long period of time, but eventually they will, they'll start to soak through. I forgot what brand this is. Endura. They're very good. Of course, I haven't had to use them here. Even if it does rain, it's so humid and stuff like that, it doesn't really matter for these, but they came in handy several times on this trip. This is actually a coat. It's in its own pocket, but this is a highly visible coat that I have, and it works out great. I've used it several times, but like I said, this heat and stuff like this, or places like this, this stays in the bag majority of the time, and I usually use that vest or just a lighter shirt, and that usually does the trick. This is a kind of it's an STP bag. I got it when I did the STP, and I've used it for my gloves, some thick gloves, like winter gloves in here, all my stuff that I don't usually use that often. I rarely ever wear gloves when I'm riding, unless it's really cold, or I just need something over my hands. But this mainly is just my gloves bag and some just kind of random things I don't want just left out. So I also have, this is my duffel bag that all of my stuff fits in. So this is my airporter bag. So when I go to the airport and I have the bike in the box, whatever doesn't fit in the box gets fit in this. So both panniers fit in this. My bag for my shoes, all that stuff, all fit in this. But I unfortunately have to carry it everywhere with me. I've used it a couple times for other weird things, like carrying like parts or something like that. But very rarely do I ever use this unless I'm going to the airport. So that's basically it. That's all that's in this bag. like I said, it's kind of a different, stuff. It doesn't really, like, it's not like my kitchen bag where it has all kind of a one purpose thing. But this is just kind of all automated stuff. So, but yeah, so that's basically what I use. Of course, I have a duffel bag that I will be doing another video on because there's so many things in that. And I was also going to show you like the clothes that I wear and stuff like that for people that care. So I hope you enjoyed this part of the episode, and I'll put up another one as soon as possible.